Well, it's hard to remember my dreams last night, but the last dream I was having, it felt as though I must have been working as a counselor again. And there was a girl that had been assaulted, and I wasn't able to counsel her as part of my regular counseling. But then someone comes and tells me that it's almost like I'm going to have to do some volunteer work at a certain agency. And I realized that actually it's through that volunteer work at that agency that I'll be able to counsel her or other people involved. Whereas I wouldn't have been able to do that if I were doing it directly through work. And I'm already kind of calculating how many hours I can get at that other agency, because it almost feels like there'll be a certain freedom that you don't have in your regular work. And then it feels like it's the same theme, the same people, but I'm in more of a castle. Like it's back in time and there's a fight going on.
In the first one, you have a type of unfoldment or orientation about yourself that evolved over time in a way that probably reflects the inner linkage from which it unfolded. However, your attention upon the outer mannerisms, you can't get that to feel right to you. When you pay attention to it, you try to orient, shape, and guide your life according to that. At some point, it probably made sense when you were just naturally evolving. But now you can't just naturally evolve by looking at the circumstances around you. You can't just naturally evolve in terms of them. You have to orient yourself to something else. The counseling that you're doing has to do with finding that inner essence flow that makes what you're doing meaningful. The image that you painted as a blase has a certain dormancy in the past, because it's yes something that you could say is what you're doing in an outer context, but what is important is what is circulating inside you in an inner way, so that those reflections of the outer have a meaningfulness.
As I said, the same people, the same theme, the girl that needs to be protected is all going on, but the scene has changed to a castle scene, and I seem to be fighting my way to where the girl is to see that she'll be okay, and I have a fencing sword or two, as it happens. And then I get to this one room of the castle, and I look down, and I see that she's standing there. There may be some people coming at her. She's got this kind of odd, almost like cloth circle that is hooked to her and goes around her. It's kind of beige and folds over on itself. It's almost like a belt, but it's floating out in the air about, 3 feet from her. So, and somehow I see her with that, and I see that she's actually, in a way, going to be able to hold her own. I throw her a fencing sword, and she has this gleam in her eye. I know she knows how to use this sword. It's almost like I know she'll be okay. But she also seems to be like maybe she has to stay within that certain circle. I don't quite understand what that cloth meant, but I knew that she'd be okay because I could see the gleam in her eye when I threw her that sword.
What the cloth enables her to do is spiral, to spin. In other words, you can take that cloth and just flick it out, and it's almost like you quicken or spin out of a slower state into a faster state. and then you slice through it with the sword. You slice through whatever it is, this stale environment or something that's situated around you. So apparently you're starting to feel a bit cloistered or confined energetically. And you don't feel that unless you're missing something that's meant to hold or catch up with your attention from within. You'll feel that. You'll have sensations of that. You'll create images of that if your orientation goes to the outer scenario, as if that's how you do it. It's as if a part of you can almost think that it can make that sort of thing sensible. But the part of you that really makes you tick doesn't know how to relate like that, because it relates to something in a bigger general flow. And thus, you have sensation type images and dreams in which something hasn't quite come together. You felt real discombobulated by all that. It's like getting distracted. Now, you've been having feelings of distraction for some time and haven't been able to figure it out. And a lot of it's been correlated over the fact that something is in a state of overwhelm. And that state of overwhelm has to do with something not being nurtured or rolled inside of yourself to the point where you think you need something. You need something. I mean, everything you're doing in relationship to your dad and me and whatnot doesn't quite clang. And that there's the sense of uneasiness because there's something that doesn't stroke the heart now. And it's not like you can take and devise something to do, nor is it possible for you to quite appreciate or enjoy what you had been able to appreciate and enjoy before. Something subtle is missing. And so now you're having dreams on that. When you have dreams like that, it means that you're missing something in the soul element. And the soul element has to do with where things quicken. Your dad is too. That's the thing. And when he suffers, you suffer. When he grieves, you grieve. There's a certain quality that can be in his voice where he can look forward to something and have a bounce or a joy. And one needs to find it. The ball games, for example, aren't working for him. They may have never worked for him, but he may have talked himself into it. And then maybe there's moments and whatnot, but left to one's own devices, it's almost like something can surge and re-plug you in or something. But in his particular case, he is waiting. He's strewn out and he's waiting for something to click. I don't know how it ever clicks if you don't have that inner linkage.